So I was here at the park this morning with my dog and something bad happened. Well, I did something bad. This is the place where I'm at and I'll tell you what happened. So I was just walking around with my dog and then I saw another lady with her dog, which was a bigger dog that runs pretty fast, and it had a tennis ball and it would come up to me with a tennis ball, place it on the floor, and then I would kick the ball and the dog would run after the ball. But something bad happened. The dog brought the ball before me and I kicked the ball, and by accident what happened is I actually kicked it over here onto the road, which is right next to the park. Now this is bad because we've had dogs here before that have actually run across the road and been hit by cars. So I panicked immediately, as you could imagine, and I cried out to the dog. I said stop, but the dog doesn't know who I am, so the dog's not going to listen to me. So fortunately the lady cried out stop and the dog stopped, and I went across the road and I got the ball and I brought it back, and I was quite embarrassed, but then she said something to me which was really interesting, and I'm going to tell you what that is shortly. But the whole situation reminded me of how important it is to know God's commandments and to know God's voice. If that dog hadn't known the commandments of the lady and her voice, the dog would have run across the road and may have been hit by a car. It could have been disastrous. So it reminded me how us as Christians, it's so important to know what God's commandments are and to obey them, to recognize that they're not for our detriment, they're not to restrict us, they're not to place boundaries on us in a way that that hinder the way we live, but rather they're actually to give us life and freedom. They're to protect us, and they're for our good, to lead us in the path of life. We're not saved by keeping the commandments, but they're there so that we can walk on the path of life, that we can experience a peace and a joy, and we can have greater intimacy with God, and that we can be protected from evil and from the traps of the enemy. So there's a particular verse here before I get to what the lady said. Psalm 119 verse 93, it says, "I will never forget your precepts, for by them you have given me life." And that's the whole point. There is life in obeying God. Now what the lady said to me is, she said to me, "Don't worry, it's okay. These things happen. I've trained the dog so that the dog knows to stop when I say stop." And how great that was. So it makes me think to myself, do I know God's commandments? Do you know God's commandments as well as that dog knows the commandments that the owner had given the dog? And are you as quick to obey God's commandments, to stop when He says stop, and to do the things that He says when He commands us to do them? So I'm glad that this worked out all right, because it could have been really bad, but there was a little lesson in all of this. Would love to get your thoughts. Leave your comments below and I'll talk to you soon. God bless you, friends.